Okay, we're going to find the inverse of a function, and this particular function is a rational function, and I'm going to write it out here. Y is equal to, and I'm not going to use f of x, I'm just going to use y, okay? Y is equal to x plus 2 divided by x minus 7. So some people have a little trouble finding the inverse of this kind of function. Well, let's go ahead and learn how. So a couple of steps when you're finding the inverse. So step 1 is you switch x and y. It's the first thing you do, okay? Switch x and y. There we go. And step 2, solve for y. Pretty simple. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to switch x and y. That means wherever I see an x, I'm going to put a y, and wherever I see a y, I'm going to put an x. So I see a y here, so I'm going to put x equals y plus 2 divided by y minus 7. Okay, so how are we going to solve for y? Well, the first thing you should do is multiply both sides by y minus 7. So when you do that, you get x times y minus 7 is equal to y plus 2. Does that make sense? Okay, we're just multiplying both sides by y minus 7. Put it in parentheses here. And we're doing it on this side also. We're multiplying both sides by y minus 7, okay? And what happens here is these cross out, okay? That's what we wanted to have happen, okay? We didn't want any fractions. Okay, now let's go back to this. So now I'm going to distribute, because remember, now we're solving for y. We're on step 2. So we need to undo everything. Make sure there's no parentheses. Okay, so now we're in a good place. If I can get the y's, I see two y's here. If I want to solve for y, I need to get the y's on one side of the equation and everything else on the other side. So I'm going to add 7x to both sides. So let me do that. So xy is equal to y plus 2 plus 7x, okay, because I added 7x to both sides. See, plus 7x, make a little note of it here, plus 7x, okay, and these cross out. That's what we wanted to have happen. Okay, good. Now, we want to get this y over to the left side of the equation, okay, and I'm going to subtract it from each side of the equation. So that would give us xy, take away y, is equal to 2 plus 7x. Okay, so how are we going to solve for y? We have xy here, we have xy minus y. Well, you can factor. Okay, it's like the distributive property in reverse. So I'm going to put 2 plus 7x here, just get that out of the way. And you'll notice that a y factors out. So we have y times x minus 1. Okay? And now that we have that, now we have y isolated. We just have to get rid of the x minus 1 that's next to it. And we can do that by dividing both sides by x minus 1. I'll put it in parentheses here. On this side, I won't do that. I'll just put x minus 1. Okay, and then I just cross these out because they cancel each other out. And you get the inverse. So the inverse is y is equal to 2 plus 7x divided by x minus 1, okay? And that's the inverse. Now, if you have to write your answer in function form, you should write it like this. It'd be f, and then it's like a little -1 exponent, but it doesn't mean to the -1 power. It just means inverse when it's next to the f. So the f inverse, so the inverse of f is equal to 2 plus 7x, just like we found, all over x minus 1. That's it.